Senior Senator from Vermont.
Mr. President, today the Senate Judiciary Committee is issuing subpoenas to political operatives at the White House for documents and testimony related to the committee's ongoing investigation into the mass firing of U.S. attorneys and the politicization of hiring and firing within the Department of Justice. Mr. President, this is not a step I take lightly. For over 4 months, I've exhausted every avenue, seeking the voluntary cooperation of Karl Rove and J. Scott Jennings, but to no avail. They and the White House have stonewalled every request. Indeed, the White House is choosing to withhold documents and is instructing witnesses who are former officials, not current officials, but former officials, to refuse to answer questions and provide information and documents. We've now reached a point where the accumulated evidence shows that political considerations factored into the unprecedented firing of at least 9 United States attorneys last year. Testimony and documents show that the list was compiled based on input from the highest political ranks in the White House, including Mr. Rove and Mr. Jennings, and today I will subpoena Mr. Rove and Mr. Jennings. The evidence shows that senior officials were apparently focused on the political impact of federal prosecutions and whether federal prosecutors were doing enough to bring partisan voter fraud and corruption cases. It is obvious that the reasons given for these firings were contrived as part of a cover-up, and the stonewalling by the White House is part and parcel of that same effort. This week, during his sworn testimony, Mr. Gonzalez contrasted these firings with the replacement of other United States attorneys for legitimate causes. Last week, the White House did much to substantiate the evidence that is intent on reducing United States attorneys and federal law enforcement to merely another partisan political aspect of its efforts when it dispatched an anonymous senior official to take the position that the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia would not be permitted to follow the law, the statutory mechanism to test White House assertions of executive privilege by prosecuting contempt of Congress. In essence, this White House asserts this claim of privilege is the final word. The Congress may not review it. No court can review it. And this White House, unlike any White House in history, is above the law. Yesterday, during an oversight hearing with Mr. Gonzalez, or 2 days ago, during an oversight hearing with Mr. Gonzalez, the senior senator from Pennsylvania, ranking Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee, rightly asked, Mr. Attorney General, do you think constitutional government in the United States can survive if the President has unilateral authority to reject congressional inquiries on grounds of executive privilege, and the President can then act to bar the Congress from getting a judicial determination as to whether that executive privilege is properly invoked? Now, Mr. President, there can be no more conclusive demonstration of this administration's partisan intervention of federal law enforcement than if this administration were to instruct the Justice Department not to pursue congressional contempt citations and intervene to prevent a United States attorney from fulfilling his sworn constitutional duty. In other words, telling the U.S. attorney, violate your oath of office, don't carry out your sworn constitutional duty to faithfully execute the laws and proceed pursuant to Section 194 of Title II of the United States Code. The President recently abused the pardon power to forestall Scooter Libby from ever serving a single day of his 30-month sentence for conviction before a jury on multiple counts of perjury, of lying to a grand jury, obstruction of justice. Stonewalling this congressional investigation is further demonstration this administration refuses to abide by the rule of law. The investigation into the firing for partisan purposes of United States attorneys who have been appointed by this President, along with an ever-growing series of controversies and scandals, have revealed an administration driven by a vision of an all-power executive over our constitutional system of checks and balances, one that values loyalty over judgment secrecy over openness, ideology over competence. A former political director at the White House made a revealing admission in a recent testimony before the Senate Judiciary Committee when she refused to answer questions citing the oath she took to the president. She said she took the oath to the president. Well, in this constitutional democracy, the oath taken by public officials is to the Constitution, not to any particular president or any particular party.
So that the senator can be heard.
We have order. Take conversations outside the chamber, please.
I hope the senator will say that again.
I will. The witness testified that she had taken an oath to the president. I reminded her the oath is to the Constitution, not to any particular president. The distinguished senator from West Virginia, who's the constitutional authority in this body, knows that every president since George Washington is sworn to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. We support and defend the Constitution of the United States. We bear true faith and allegiance to our founding principles and the law, not to a particular political party or to a president. My oath is not to a political party. It's not even to the great institution of the United States Senate, but to the Constitution and the rule of law. As a former prosecutor, I feel that independent law enforcement is an essential component of our democratic government. Now, the White House has said that they will block a U.S. attorney from carrying out their sworn duty. Well, the criminal contempt statute, 2 U.S.C. 194, provides that if a House of Congress certifies a contempt citation, the United States attorney to whom it's sent has a duty and shall bring it before the grand jury for its action. No White House can stop that, and for this one to threaten to intervene in an effort to preempt further investigation, cover up the truth, and avoid accountability is an insult to the rule of law. We're talking about a law duly passed by both houses of Congress, signed by a duly elected President of the United States, and derived from law that's been on the books since 1857 for 150 years. And Mr. President, I will put my whole statement on the record. The senator from Washington has been very good to let me have this time. But the fact that we are subpoenaing Mr. Rove and Mr. Jennings, I felt the whole Senate should know about that. I would hope that the White House will stop the stonewalling that they've been engaged in. If there are any cooler or wiser heads at the White House, I urge them to reconsider the course they've taken, because there's a cloud over this White House and a gathering storm. I hope they'll reconsider their course and end their cover-up so we can move forward together to repair the damage done to the Department of Justice, the American people's trust and confidence in federal law enforcement. I yield the floor.